All right, everybody, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Bitcoin. Specifically, this wild prediction that it could hit $95,000 this week. It's kind of mind-blowing, honestly, and this Motley Fool article from November 12th lays out this whole scenario. It's like a perfect storm brewing. You know, we've got this new crypto-friendly administration, a surprisingly strong economy, and even the Fed cutting interest rates. It's like someone just poured rocket fuel on the Bitcoin fire. So to help me sort through all of this, let's bring in our expert. So what do you make of this $95,000 prediction? Is it even realistic?
Well, first off, just to set the stage, the article mentions Bitcoin's price was at $87,541.87 as of November 13th at 4:31 a.m. Eastern Time. I mean, just think about that for a second. Bitcoin's already 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it's something purely digital, no physical form or anything. And it's hitting these insane record highs.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. And the article calls it a perfect storm of positive factors. Like, I'm really intrigued by how the political landscape is playing a role. Having a pro-crypto administration just seems like it would boost investor confidence in a big way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just talk either. The fact that Vice President-elect J.D. Vance actually owns Bitcoin himself is a huge deal. You know, you don't see politicians putting their money where their mouth is like that very often.
Exactly. It really makes you wonder what kind of policies he might push for. Could we see wider Bitcoin adoption? Maybe even some new regulations that clarify things for the crypto market?
It's definitely possible. A strong pro-crypto stance from the administration could have a ripple effect, encouraging more institutional investors to take Bitcoin seriously. And that could lead to even more innovation in the crypto space.
Yeah, it's like a chain reaction. Now, the article also mentioned the surprisingly strong economy as a contributing factor. And it seems counterintuitive, but a good economy could actually make people more likely to invest in something as volatile as Bitcoin.
Right. And it might seem strange at first. But when the economy is doing well and inflation fears are easing, people generally feel more financially secure. They're more likely to have some extra cash to invest. And they're a bit more willing to take risks in pursuit of higher returns.
So instead of sticking to those safe investments like bonds, they're thinking, hey, why not take a chance on Bitcoin? Especially now that the Fed has cut interest rates, making those safe investments less appealing.
Exactly. Lower interest rates mean lower returns on traditional investments.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, the potential gains from Bitcoin, even with its volatility, start to look a lot more attractive.
Then there's this whole thing about weekend trading, which just blows my mind. You mean, unlike the stock market, Bitcoin never sleeps? People can buy and sell it whenever they want.
That's right. Bitcoin operates on a decentralized network called a blockchain. There's no central authority like a stock exchange controlling when trading happens. Transactions are processed 24/7, making Bitcoin accessible to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
No wonder there was so much activity over the weekend. People have more free time. They're checking the charts, seeing all the positive news, and thinking, hey, let's jump on this Bitcoin train.
And that kind of collective enthusiasm, that FOMO or fear of missing out, can really drive prices up. People see others making money and they don't want to be left behind. So they buy in, which creates even more demand and pushes prices even higher.
Okay, so we've got this pro-crypto administration, a strong economy, low interest rates, and people trading Bitcoin like crazy. It really does feel like all the ingredients are there for a major price surge. But let's get back to that $95,000 prediction. Do you actually think that's achievable this week? I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, given the current momentum, it's definitely within the realm of possibility. The article even mentions Bitcoin briefly going over $80,000 over the weekend and flirting with that $90,000 mark. But, and this is crucial to remember, no rally lasts forever. There's always a chance for a correction. And with Bitcoin, those corrections can be pretty dramatic.
So you're saying while hitting $95,000 isn't impossible, it's important to stay grounded and remember that Bitcoin is notoriously volatile. What goes up can come down just as fast.
Absolutely. Prudence is key, especially in a market as unpredictable as cryptocurrency. Even the article itself cautions investors and emphasizes the need for a balanced approach. The potential for gains is definitely there, but so are the risks.
So enjoy the ride, but buckle up because this Bitcoin roller coaster could have some unexpected twists and turns ahead. It's just wild to me how this Bitcoin surge is kind of shaking up all these traditional ideas about finance. It's like this digital currency is making everyone rethink what money even is.
It really is a whole paradigm shift. I mean, for centuries, we've been taught to think of money as something tangible, right? Something you can hold in your hand. But Bitcoin, it's completely digital. just lines of code, essentially. Yet here it is commanding incredible value and even influencing global markets.
Yeah, it's like a digital revolution in finance. And it's not just the technology itself, it's the whole philosophy behind it. This idea of a decentralized financial system operating outside the control of governments and central banks. It's almost like a rebellion against the establishment.
That's a great way to put it. It's a movement toward a more open and transparent financial system, one where individuals have more control over their assets. And we're seeing this revolution play out in real time with Bitcoin hitting these new all-time highs.
Right. But what's fueling this relentless upward momentum? I mean, we talked about the pro-crypto administration, the strong economy and low interest rates. But is there something else at play here, like a psychological factor maybe?
Oh, absolutely. There's this powerful force in any market, but especially in one as fast-moving and hyped as cryptocurrency. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah, yes, FOMO. That feeling of everyone else is making money and I don't want to be left behind. Like those stories you hear about people taking out second mortgages just to buy into some hot stock, it can be dangerous.
Exactly. When people see Bitcoin breaking records left and right, they jump in headfirst hoping to ride the wave. And that flood of new buyers creates even more demand, which pushes prices up even further. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle fueled by both the actual potential and the fear of missing out on that potential.
But like we discussed earlier, this kind of frenzy, this upward spiral, it can't go on forever, can it? Eventually, reality has to set in.
Of course. No market can sustain this level of exponential growth indefinitely. A correction is inevitable. The question is when and how severe it will be. And that's the tricky part. No one has a crystal ball. It's impossible to predict the future of any market with absolute certainty, especially one as volatile as cryptocurrency.
So how do we navigate this? If you can't predict the future, how can you make informed decisions? It feels like a gamble.
Well, while we can't pinpoint the exact timing or severity of a correction, we can analyze current trends, consider historical patterns, and manage risk. It's about staying informed, not getting swept up in the hype, and never investing more than you can afford to lose.
So zooming out a bit, what does this Bitcoin surge tell us about the future of finance? Is this just a blip on the radar, or is it a sign of things to come?
I think it's safe to say that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general represent a significant and potentially transformative force in the financial world. They're challenging the status quo, forcing us to rethink traditional models of money and value.
So they're not just a passing fad. They're here to stay.
It certainly seems that way. Their impact is already being felt across various industries, from payments and remittances to supply chain management and even art and collectibles. The applications of blockchain technology are expanding rapidly.
We've talked a lot about the potential upside of Bitcoin. But what about the potential downsides? Are there any risks or challenges we need to be aware of?
Of course, volatility is a major concern. As we've seen, the price of Bitcoin can fluctuate wildly, making it a risky investment. Then there are security concerns. While the blockchain itself is highly secure, cryptocurrency exchanges and wallets can be vulnerable to hacking and theft.
So while the technology is promising, it's still important to proceed with caution. It's a bit like the Wild West out there, isn't it?
In some ways, yes. The regulatory landscape is still evolving, and there's a lot of uncertainty about how governments will ultimately address cryptocurrencies.
Right. That uncertainty can breed opportunity. But it also creates risk. So it seems like the key takeaway here is that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are a powerful force for change in the financial world. But they also come with their own unique set of challenges. It's a fascinating and complex landscape, and one that's constantly evolving.
Wow, this deep dive has really been something else. We started with this simple question about Bitcoin hitting $95,000, and somehow we've ended up talking about the whole future of finance.
Haha. Yeah, it's amazing how these things unfold, isn't it? You start pulling on one thread and suddenly you're unraveling a whole tapestry of ideas.
Exactly. And I feel like we've zoomed out from that initial price prediction, and now we're looking at the entire financial landscape from this totally new perspective. Right. And that broader view is so important for understanding what Bitcoin really represents and the impact it could have. It's not just about the price itself. It's about the underlying technology and the shift in thinking it brings.
Yeah, it's about challenging the old ways of doing things and exploring these new possibilities for a more decentralized and equitable financial system.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about numbers on a screen. We're talking about ideas that could completely change how we view money and value.
Okay, but let's circle back to that original question for a second.
Right.
Do you think with everything we've discussed that Bitcoin could actually hit $95,000 by the weekend?
Honestly, it's hard to say. The momentum is definitely there, but Bitcoin is notoriously unpredictable. A correction could happen at any moment.
So it's possible, but not a guarantee.
Exactly. The market is driven by so many factors, both rational and emotional. It's this complex web of forces that no one can predict with 100% certainty.
Yeah, I guess that's part of what makes it so captivating. There's this element of suspense, this thrill of not knowing what's going to happen next.
And that uncertainty is a big part of what draws people to cryptocurrency. It's this high-risk, high-reward game with the potential for huge gains, but also the possibility of big losses.
So for anyone listening who might be thinking about jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon, what advice would you give them?
First and foremost, do your research. Don't just buy into the hype. Take the time to understand the technology, the risks, and the potential rewards before you invest any money.
That's so important. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
It requires careful consideration and a long-term perspective.
Absolutely. And remember, diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different asset classes to help manage risk.
So approach Bitcoin with both excitement and caution. Don't let FOMO cloud your judgment, but also don't be afraid to explore this new frontier of finance.
Well said. This is a pivotal moment in financial history, and we're all witnessing it unfold. Whether Bitcoin hits $95,000 this week or not, the real story is the rise of decentralized finance and the potential it has to reshape our world.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from the nuts and bolts of Bitcoin to the philosophical implications of a decentralized financial system.
It's been quite a journey,
Wow.
and it doesn't end here. We encourage everyone listening to keep exploring this fascinating and ever-changing space.
So to our listeners, what do you think? Will Bitcoin hit $95,000 this week? And more importantly, what does the surge tell us about the future of cryptocurrency as a whole? Leave us a comment, share your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin. We'll be back next time with another exploration into the depths of knowledge and discovery. Until then, stay curious and keep learning.